Hi, I'm Enchanting Newbie Annette. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Today I'm going to focus on a tragedy that took place in Georgia. And the shocking aspect about this case is the crime was done by a Dr. James Choi, a prominent dentist who lived in a wonderful community as far as gated community, beautiful estate, and he seemed to have such a lavish, awesome life. Let's begin. So on August 31st, just a few days ago, Dr. James Choi, a respected dentist who is practicing at Highland Dental in Sewanee, Georgia, he was found unliving alongside his wife and daughter. They lived in a huge, beautiful home. The cost of the home is estimated to be about $1.7 million in a gated community called St. Ives. Beautiful, just lavish. Now, police responded to a welfare check, but unfortunately, they discovered the bodies, and it was described as a domestic related M ending in R crime. Now, let's focus on the daughter. Their daughter, Grace, was only a sophomore. So young, everyone. She attended Mount Pisgah. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, a Christian school. And she had recently performed at Carnegie Hall. So impressive. You can tell that she was such a gifted violinist and she would have had such a bright future. So the community there in Sewanee, Georgia is reeling right now with grief, and a lot of tributes are being poured out regarding her in her community, the school, and all of the local organizations as well. Such a shame. So you're probably thinking like I was, why did this happen? This seems like such a rare case. But you know what? Let's be real. The why isn't always clear, and it's very murky right now. Authorities still haven't released a motive. And even out of respect for the family, a lot of details have been sealed. So I'm just thinking, for example, about, mental health for, a prominent dentist, someone who is well educated, experienced to do this. Perhaps there was an imbalance in his work life, maybe emotional burnout. But these are some of the factors. So let's go back to the mental health. Perhaps he struggled with that, even though he was a professional. There are so many people, unfortunately, who, have a mental issues, and they still, of course, have to live their life and they're treating other people. And I didn't even realize, that dentistry is one of the most stressful professions out there. I just never knew. There are studies that have been shown that dentists have consistently reported, even high, severe stress levels, such as depression, burnout, and very unhealthy thoughts. I'm going to put it that way on YouTube. I didn't realize it was very common in this field. I know that being a doctor can be very stressful if you're in the, surgery room. Of course, working with even, babies because they're very fragile, and, people who are, very, very ill. That's definitely stressful. That's what comes to my mind. But dentistry, I didn't even think about it, honestly. Another factor can be professional isolation because dentists often work in a high pressure environment and their social interaction is very limited. So, once again, yes, they usually work in smaller office settings, but they usually always, of course, have an assistant, a dental hygienist, and other people in their workspace. So, this is something that Yes, they work in a smaller setting, but I would think that's even better because they don't have as much of, so many patients coming in and grave emergencies. So I learned something else new. Another factor could be their economic and legal pressures. So definitely, this is one thing, of course, people who have a business. Running a practice means definitely a lot of patient care. Business management, you need to have those skills in place as well as, being excellent in your trade. And definitely the thought of litigations, people who are suing. If you make any mistakes, or even if you don't make a mistake, living in certain states, people are always trying to file a lawsuit. And one misstep or mishap can definitely mean, bad reviews, loss of your license. You have to really be very extremely careful. And again, lawsuits that can come out of nowhere, even if you're doing your very best as an expert in the field. And another aspect can be family dynamics. We don't know what was going on behind those closed doors. And again, this is considered by law enforcement to be a domestic related M. So it can be a mixture of all of these things. You know, could be loss of control, psychological issues, many personal stresses. So all of these factors, can be in this case. I don't know, what the issue is or the details for this extreme crime. It's very unfortunate, especially for the daughter and even his wife. This is horrifying. And it's always, very intriguing when, you think of someone who is successful, someone who took their time so many years to learn this skill, to be an expert in this field, and they're silently, you know, not being able to cope. They're unraveling. But again, people put up a very good facade. So another thing I've learned online, everyone, is, those factors that are stressful, but even more so, there are other factors, such as patient anxiety, that a lot of dentists need to work with or deal with. They're constantly managing people who don't like being there. So, as you know, you can speak to about 20 people, and the majority of those people, even 19 out of 20 or all 20, do not like going to the dentist at all. And, the dentist needs to be extra patient, very caring, because there's so many different stress levels from children all the way up to adults. Then there's physical strain, their neck, their back. They have hand pain as well. Long hours of precision, when they're working. There's emotional burnout because they need to, focus on, not making mistakes because they can easily be sued. Again, business pressures, having your own practice, and you have to do everything. Some dentists need to be, the person who's cleaning the office as well, of course, managing the taxes and the bills from insurances. There's so many legal risk, loss of license, lawsuits, as I mentioned before. And again, maybe loneliness in their professional field. So there's a lot that goes into this case. I'm really interested as to why this dentist may have done this crime. Maybe the family, like maybe if he has siblings or parents, know of what the stresses are or what caused this. It's very, 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 very frightening, because stress affects everyone. It really doesn't matter what your economic level is, but it's still shocking when people look like they have it all together, especially when they do have, money, they do have funds. Well, it appears that they do. So I just wanted to say that, you know, People who have a high stress profession definitely can feel overwhelmed, just like anyone who's working like two jobs or maybe any job that's not paying enough to cover their bills. Both people have a huge amount of stress at a different level. Everyone needs to find someone they can trust to talk to, whether it's your family member, your spouse, a good friend, for example. If not, you need to speak to a therapist because you need to release whatever is happening inside. And you have to know that you're not alone. If your job is very hard or very difficult, your stress is valid, but you need to take care of yourself. Doesn't matter what type of job you have, and especially when you're servicing people. When you have to work with people, with their energy and their anxiety, um, when it comes to, being paid and insurance companies and so forth, you definitely need to take care of yourself the same way you take care of your patients. So I just hope that people who are listening to this, if you know someone who's going through a lot of stress, please help them to explore mental health support because there's a lot of stress on people all over the United States and even throughout the world right now. It's high pressure. So I learned something new, everyone, and it's eye opening. So please give your feedback, what you think about, this case. It was shocking to me. Um, and even, drop a comment below. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Again, please be safe wherever you are and have your head on a swivel. And if you're feeling stressed, talk to someone. Release the stress. Whether you meditate, write in your journal, take a walk, explore nature, do artwork, release the stress, exercise. So thanks again.